Well, I hope you all brought your dancing shoes tonight because we're about to go down memory lane. Actually, scratch that. We're going down loss of memory lane because what we're going to be talking about tonight, there's no memory of it ever happening. This paper is called Night Moves for all you Bob Seger fans out there, all you 70s kids. Don't try to take me to a disco. You'll never even get me out on the floor. So, with that, let's get started. This is, of course, called Night Moves, the Lost Dance of the Millennial Kingdom. Hopefully, I'm coming in nice and clear for everyone. My volume is good, and hopefully, you're not going to hear that all night. Whoever is ding dong on the other side of my computer trying to get a hold of me right now. Say 1000 party over. Oops, out of time. So tonight I'm gonna party like it's 9:99. I can give dates like that, and they're not a typo. And besides, I was dreaming when I wrote this, so sue me if I go too fast. The kingdom was 1,000, and millennia weren't meant to last. Enough 1980s jokes already. Someone's out there saying that right now. What's with this guy's 1980s jokes? Your papers used to be so serious and informative. What happened to you? I think you meant to say that 980s. I mean, I don't want to be the date Nazi here, but the artist, the artist formerly known as King, was all the rage. I'm drinking water in here, by the way, in case you're curious. Tough audience. Looks like I've gotten off on the wrong foot. Well, assuming I still have your attention, then you should at least know there was a dance attributed to the medieval millennia and an age I've come to know and love under another banner, the 1,000-year reign of Yahushua HaMashiach, or the Millennial Kingdom, if you prefer, which is now completely lost to us. For 1,000 years, men and women danced merrily together, hand in hand, on the flat, motionless plain, and we've only the faintest clue what it looked like. You see, this is why fun is a necessary component of my 9-to-5 workspace. Otherwise, I'd weep for the arrogance and the rebellion of men, as well as all the many beautiful things that we've lost. So stepping right to it, pun intended, probably, I'm sure I'll have a lot of dad jokes and bad puns tonight. I'm sourcing Wiki's medieval dance page. Yes, they actually have a medieval dance page where we are informed of a rather odd fact. First sentence. Sources for an understanding of dance in Europe in the Middle Ages are limited and fragmentary, being composed of some interesting depictions in paintings and illuminations. If you don't know what an illumination is, that's the in the old books when they would actually hand paint actual pictures into the pages, that would be called an illumination. A few musical examples of what may be dances and scattered allusions in literary text. The first detailed descriptions of dancing only date from 1451 in Italy, which is after the start of the Renaissance in Western Europe. So there was a dance throughout the Middle Ages. They claim Europe only, as if Westerners were dragging their heels into the East Side. But I think we shall find that the dance has residue across a great swath of cultures. It then says our understanding is at best limited and fragmentary, as if that's not by design. All we have are a few surviving depictions in paintings and manuscript illuminations, a scarce handful of musical examples of what may be dances, though no one seems certain, as well as scattered allusions in literary text. Couldn't scrub them all, eh? The Jesuits and the Benedictine monks, as well as the other CSI groups, did their best to clean the crime scene, remove the evidence, but it appears as though some were capable of strutting their stuff right into the goalie net. Life finds a way. We then read that the first detailed description of dancing did not arrive until 1451 in Italy during the Renaissance of all time periods, as if that's not suspicious. Look, this isn't my first boogie. I can totally tell when the judges are being impartial. And this is one of those occasions. Only some of you will need reminded of the reset events, which most certainly happened in the whereabouts of 1500. The spokespersons down at the Ministry of Truth, though pressed to admit that a prior dance did exist, are hoping to sweep us off our feet with the Enlightenment narrative. And of course, the Enlightenment narrative is propped up upon the circus stilts of the Dark Ages, which they escaped from, wherein nothing happened, nobody went anywhere except for the rats, and in Crusaders' terms, there was plenty of blood on the dance floor. Not forgetting the women who stink like last month's cycle, barely bathing the crust off their makeup, and who would want to dance with that? The only dance we need documented is the Enlightenment, apparently, but I'm not buying it. Try again. I'll have the time of my life in the Millennial Kingdom. Thank you very much. Now, next paragraph in Wikipedia, we read this. The most documented form of secular dance during the Middle Ages is the carol, also called the carol or carolla, and known from the 12th and 13th centuries in Western Europe in rural and court settings. It consisted of a group of dancers holding hands, usually in a circle, with the dancers singing in a leader and refrain style while dancing. No surviving lyrics or music for the carol have been identified. How convenient. In northern France, other terms for this type of dance included ronde and its or rondettes, rondelle, or rondelette, from which the more modern musical term rondeau derives. In the German-speaking, that would be, of course, French. In the German-speaking areas, the same type of choral dance was known as Regen. I actually, I actually looked that up. I was practicing that before I went live tonight, and I just give up on the German accent. I will never pronounce the. I have a hope of speaking French, believe it or not. But the German, forget about it. Next paragraph, the most documented form of secular dance during the Middle Ages was the carol. And I wonder if the idea of Christmas caroling maybe came out of that. I mean, there doesn't seem to be nobody seems to be making that connection. I'm making that connection. I don't know if it's true or not. And here is what we know about it. A group held hands in a circle while singing and dancing in cadence with their song and dance leader. The carol was known as the rondeau in France, the French word for round, and Regen in Germany, also round. I don't know about you, but I'm detecting a theme here. I'm also under the impression that both sexes were involved, though the fairer sex may have kept to their own circles at times. They may have had a girls-only circles. I doubt they had many men-only circles, but you never really know. And of course, why wouldn't they? Let's face the music. The ladies speak a language that only they can understand. Don't stop now, keep reading. No surviving lyrics or music for the carol have been identified. Well, that's convenient. You mean nobody wrote it down, like ever? Among the dozens, probably hundreds, more than likely thousands of carols being celebrated across a swath of countries over a pileup of centuries, are you trying to tell me that nobody thought to write down a single note or lyric? Actually, they're not saying that. Read it again. What they're saying is worse, far worse. Telling us there are no surviving lyrics is akin to admitting that they were written down, or in the very least, logically would have been, but that nothing has survived the book burning. Today, scholarly work on the carol are extremely difficult to come by. Somebody named Robert P. Mullally, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I'm sure he's a perfect gentleman, wrote a book on the subject. It's called The Carol, A Study of a Medieval Dance. And have you seen the sales price? $147 for a brand new hard copy last time I checked. I pulled out the calculator on this one. It's 172 pages. That's 85 cents per page. I like to read a book or two before committing to a new paper, but come on, too expensive for my bookshelf. So can't say I've read it. I really did try to track down a copy. It was like, wow. From what I can glean of his report, Mullally describes the carol as one which was performed by all classes of society. Kings and nobles, shepherds, and servant girls all played their part in the circle. Were they equals? It is described as a dance which not only existed both indoors and outdoors, but as a central position in the life of its participants. And of course, women and men were interspread throughout. Mullally proposes that the general progression of the dance was to the left, clockwise, and that the steps involved a left foot move to the left, followed by the right closing in upon the left. Not sure if Mullally has more information to offer, but that is all I've been able to glean for not having paid for that price. I wouldn't have the slightest clue if he makes a Zodiac connection, though it seems appropriate to highlight one, or if he deduces the picturesque Camelot round table story trope, which again directs our attention to the Zodiac and may have originated from the dance. I think it's worth looking into. So here are some of the pictures. I'll try to go through these slowly that I was able to track down of this dance that swept the world during the Middle Ages. That one's kind of fun there because you have like an actual knight in armor dancing with the ladies. As I was saying, depictions of the dance are far and few between. We have very few of them, but when one is disclosed on a page that has escaped the purge, and gentlemen, knights, and ladies of the court, kings as well as queens, are manifested for us. They are holding hands, as described, though despite the merrymaking in some, take an added minute to appreciate each scene gifted to us. Observe the meditative, prayerful stare on their faces, the piety of their movements, the careful devotion to each step. I mean, you really get that in particularly these two on the right here. It seems like they're just very, it's very, some of them almost somber and ceremonial. And then over here, you have definitely more merrymaking on the bottom two left. But then, what do we have here? I spy a circle of gentlemen and lady dancers. What appears to be a farmer or an artisan collecting wood for the fire. And yep, that's an angel. Will somebody please retrieve the music and lyrics to that song and dance number? It will be terribly difficult to top this one, though let's try our Art 101 analysis skills with another painting or two so as to nab a fuller picture of what might be going on. Yeah, I was wrong. These just keep getting better and better. In this one, we are given a glimpse involving many kings and queens. By the look of it, they are the resurrected Kodashim. Those would be the set apart, the holy ones, interspersed with angels, though it is indeed interesting that not everyone is given a halo. So, yeah, you see some people with crowns here. You see some with halos. But yeah, not everyone has a crown. Not everyone has a halo. And then, of course, as men and women interdispersed with the angels. This woman up here seems to be kind of a big focus of the dance. The location may very well be the hidden wilderness, that or paradise. I don't really know. If I had to guess, the kings and priests of the kingdom are out on a jolly holiday with Miriam, learning the moves from the best, so that they might teach it afterwards to the rest. Wow, I just rhymed. I don't know if that was intentional. You can see I was in a really good mood when I wrote this. Contrarily, the fresco at Orslev Church in Denmark portrays the merriest scene of them all. I can hear the blasted trumpets. Of course, you can see that there. There's a little like bunny rabbit dog or something over there blasting a trumpet. But also the champagne is served, and it appears as though everyone is indulging in more gaiety than usual, particularly the couple of dudes on the end, thanks no doubt to the open bar. So you got these guys here acting trying to impress that girl, I guess. But then of course you see, I think these are like goblets down here of wine or something else. They're all drinking down here. Are we peering in upon the coronation of a king or a wedding or a cyclical celebration of the harvest. Nobody knows. Just don't overlook the three women in rank and file. They are all three wearing crowns rather than garlands. So you can count them right up here: the red dress, the green dress, and the white dress. They all have crowns on up there. Was the king a babe magnet and a polygamist, or something else going on? What are the chances that all three ladies had participated in a step or two with the residents of the hidden wilderness in the picture we looked at above? Now, this one I think is my absolute favorite right here on the left. And of course, this was the cover of the video and the article. Digging up two additional medieval dance portraits has the weight being thrown toward the court of the angels. So apparently these are all angels right here on the left. And of course, you can see more angels dancing around up here on the right in the sky, all in a circle, of course. It appears as though the men and women of earth were mimicking what was being taught to them from heaven. I mean, I get that's the whole point of medieval art. It's to teach men how to live on earth as it is in heaven. And so it only is natural that if in artwork they are showing people doing something properly in art, that they're going to show the angels doing it as well. Now, if mankind is doing something improper in these paintings, they're not going to show the angels in heaven doing it. Makes sense, right? The angels rounding the wheel in the sky reminds us of the rotating stars within the firmament. Never is the divine education more evident than the nativity scene. While Yahushua HaMashiach was born in the cave, angels danced the rondeau above him. Am I mistaken in claiming they're all women? Not just in the nativity scene, but in both portraits. No telling how many women are making the rounds in the firmament. Above Bethlehem, though, I'm counting 12 angels. I'll count this for you just to make sure I'm not incorrect. An obvious tip-off to the Zodiac, and they're the fairer sex of the angelic realm. So there's, you can't say that there are no portraits of women angels. But let's go ahead and count this. I see starting here on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was a little worried there. I thought, oh no, it's not going to be 12. But yep, there they are, 12. That's here in a circle, representing probably the Zodiac. And, the thing about women angels is that I do believe that there are women angels. I mean, that shouldn't be too hard to figure out. If you have the feminine Ruach HaKodesh, you have the daughters of Zion, there's a lot of stuff going on. But I think the reason why we typically don't see them is because in a patriarchal society, it's the men who go out. It would be the men spirits, the men angels who go out to do the hunting, do the missions, do the, the dangerous stuff, and the ladies stay back home. But of course, if they're going to make an appearance, they're going to be putting on their dance shoes, I would assume. This seems like a good a time as any to point out that the written descriptions of the rondeau, which we do have in our possession, can be attributed to the Arthurian romances and appear to correspond with the present scene. So here's yet another picture, and you see it's kind of, it's lower class, maybe women having fun. It looks like kind of like a, like something you'd see in a tavern, maybe. I don't really know. The work of French poet Christian de Troyes is officially dated to 1170. I'm giving you the official dates, and as descriptions go, sits among the earliest of any description we have of this dance. So this is what he says in Eric and Enid, which is lines 2047 through 2048, and it's all a part of his Arthurian romances. Maidens performed rounds and other dances. So there it is there. They performed rounds and went in a circle, each trying to outdo the other in showing their joy. FYI, the dance takes place during a wedding, reminding us of the Orslev church fresco. It's why I thought to bring it up now. Taken at face value, we do not glean anything regarding discipline, penitence, or prayer in this description, as I have suggested in others, and there is little of any spiritual value to be had. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with the scene at hand. Weddings are great and all. I've been to many of them, and is merrymaking, and I do enjoy a cool wine cellar on a hot summer day. It's just that I'd rather you not forget how all the lyrics as well as the songs have been purged from the file cabinet. And it is certainly no mistake that the Arthurian romances would stand as an exclusive witness. This is what we have to go with, so let's keep trudging ahead. So, what I'm saying, and I'm going to be showing a lot of different things, I think, in the upcoming weeks about specifically the medieval time period, and I'm going to have to continually point out that it is no mistake, probably, that what references we do have, you know, survived. They were intended to be shown to us. So in this, this isn't exactly the carol, but this is kind of a little bit of what I'm going to be talking about here, and it shouldn't the description shouldn't be that difficult to figure out. We see now, interesting enough, there's a phoenix on the shield here. Here's some of those wacky horse drawings that you see in the Middle Ages. They really struggled with drawing horses. But they had like the same kind of eyes as humans, if you pay attention to them. But this knight has probably won a jousting tournament. You can see that here. Here's the squire to the left with his lance, and he's still holding his shield. But here's, I think, that might be his helmet over here. Yeah, with the phoenix on top. And there's a lady reaching down to hand him a garland. So Christian de Troyes would again describe the carol in another book of his, dated to the same year, 1170, of course, officially. The scene involves knights and ladies in a meadow, and here is what we read regarding their activity. Some others were playing at childhood games, rounds, dances and reels, singing, tumbling, and leaping. That comes from the Knight of the Cart, lines 1656 through 1659. Describing the rounds as a childhood activity may seem dismissive to most, a mindless activity, elementary even. The esoteric reader, however, will easily recall that the damsel and the virgin, which would of course be Betula in Hebrew, of medieval lore represents a higher element of the soul, purity, if you will. The very concept of chivalry, which is admittedly a medieval invention, cannot separate the knight from his horse. In fact, the very word chivalry comes from the French chevalier and literally means knight or horseman. Now, you may recall I talked a little bit about this with my chess paper. The horse is a picture of the mortal body, complete with its associated energies and emotions, whereas the horseman embodies the higher divine self, which must always master the horse, aka his body. And this is one of the esoteric, kind of the deeper embedded ideas behind the jousting, the horse jousting. Just as assuredly, the knight cannot be defined apart from his relationship with the lady. He either falls into sensual lust, often due to her temptation, or she aids him in aspiring to attain his higher heavenly self. This is why I showed you an illumination of a lady reaching down to award the winner of a jousting tournament his prize, as well as her love. It was a time when ladies were ladies and men were men. His final book, Percival, the Story of the Grail, is said to have been written in 1181 through 1191, in those years right there. The Camelot fanboys are well aware of the enormous impact which it had on literature, especially the Grail myth, despite the fact that it was apparently never finished. And contained within are two more notable mentions of the circle dance. Men and women dance rounds through every street and square. And then a little later on, while in court, we read this. The queen had all her maidens join hands together to dance and begin the merrymaking. In his honor, they began their singing, dances, and rounds. Percival, the Story of the Grail. So debase the description as juvenile if you must. But then do try and recall the last time that you went down to the local grocery store or the city hall or the UPS store or the DMV, and everyone broke out into a song and dance number. Exactly. Can't say it's ever happened in my lifetime. Have you visited Walmart recently? Apparently, it was a regular occurrence during the Middle Ages. Go figure. You couldn't keep the knights and ladies of the court down with the plague, no matter how many rats and hitchhiking fleas you threw at them. They'd rise up out of the pig pen and the mounds of poo, seeing as how nobody thought bathrooms and castles were of value, and explode into a Broadway production. The only place I could see something like that going down today is at a Sukkot celebration among the people of the Torah. Oh, snap. Frankly, the examples in Percival remind me of David's entry into the city of David, returning with the Ark of the Covenant. And we read this in, I think it's 2 Samuel. And David danced before Yahweh with all his might, wearing a priestly garment. So David and all the people of Yasharel brought up the ark of Yahweh with shouts of joy and the blowing of ram's horns. But as the ark of Yahweh entered the city of David, Michal, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, it's kind of like the feminine of Michael, Michal, the daughter of Shaul, looked down from her window. When she saw King David leaping and dancing before Yahweh, she was filled with contempt for him. That comes from Shemuel Sheni, or 2 Samuel 6:14-16. There are a few noteworthy examples of dancing in the Bible, like Miriam's temporal routine at the seaside, moments after Pharaoh's army went for a deep dive. But David takes the icing on the cake. As Psalm 149:3 would state, let them praise his name with dancing, which is exactly what we see happening here, as well as throughout the Dark Ages. Only Michal, the daughter of Shaul, looked down from her window with contempt, and she was an idolater. Let's not be one of those. Was David and his entourage holding hands in a rotunda, a carousel, a carol? It wouldn't surprise me in the least. Judaism today has a history of circular dancing. So let's see if I can fit all 9 photos here. I can't with my mug in here at the same time. But of course, these are some of the pictures I pulled up from all over the world, from many different traditions. Not just the Jews, though. Among the 9 examples which I've just given, only 3 of them would be Yiddish. And I think those are the 3 on top there are Yiddish examples. The others include examples of Slavic, Russian, Greek, Bulgarian, and some other neighboring nationality which I've yet to identify. Perhaps you can figure out which is what and then some. Take note of the Jewish wedding. Of course, that would be up here, the Jewish wedding. Dancers form multiple chains around the bride and groom. As a former wedding photographer, I have been to a Jewish wedding or two and can confirm the legend. Greek weddings produce something similar. I've been to those as well. And let's not forget the Orthodox heritage. And of course, the folk dance, also known as the chain dance, finds its roots within the Balkans, precisely where the Ashkenazi, sorry, I had something in my throat. Jews emerged during the late Middle Ages, but try not to notice that. I'll give you a moment to look at this here. This picture is a little hard to blow up. It was already small as it was, but you can see there imprinted, chiseled into stone on the very top, a type of chain dance. I am told that this is a stikak, and that is a chiseled depiction of the chain dance that can be found upon it. The only problem is I have absolutely no idea what a stikak is. If I'm even pronouncing that correctly. It's okay, I just looked it up. A stikak is a type of medieval tombstone which can be found in the geographical regions of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Herzegovina? Never even heard of that location before. I mean, I know Bosnia. I learned something new. How about you? Well, I think we all know what this individual was all about on the weekend. He or she liked to partay. They're either telling us what they intended to do in paradise, or that it is okay if we form a conga line at the funeral. In conclusion, I asked AI to draw me up a picture or two of what dancing might look like in the Millennial Kingdom. And this is what it fired back. I know, right? Skynet, Skynet knows. If I had to guess, the rondeau represented another physical embodiment of the kingdom mysteries by which every participant enacted out his pilgrimage through the outer as well as the inner cosmos, with the center of gravity, or the magnetic true north if you prefer, being focused upon Allahayam's relationship with the individual soul. Now, some of you are already thinking, but what about the maypole? I know that's coming. I know that's already in some of your minds. It was in mine as well. So after I'm done with this in the next couple minutes, I'm going to close shop. I'm going to start up my next paper that I finished on the maypole. So it's like a spin off of this. And one more thing that I didn't put in here that I should have, and I've been kicking myself all day for not doing it, is Ring Around the Rosies. And I need to point out that when you look into Ring Around the Rosies, those aren't the original lyrics. In fact, there were nobody really knows what the original lyrics were. It was to a tune that, I think children, they love the uh-oh moment. Children love when things go wrong, so they all love falling at the end. But the older lyrics are a little bit more innocent. So sometime during the 1800s, it did become the modern Ring Around the Rosies, Pocket Full of Posies, Ashes, Ashes, We All Fall Down. The British version is a tissue, we all fall down, if I'm not mistaken. And so, everyone says it's the plague, and that very well may be the case. So the song became the plague, but it's interesting. You're going in a circle, and then everybody dies at the end, right? They all fall down. And so is that, a rehearsal of this dance that existed that was actually I don't think they had any death dances. Of course, I don't know. I wasn't there, but it seemed to me that there was a celebration of life and understanding maybe some deeper spiritual values. Like I think they were probably prayerful many times and sung with hymns and so on and so forth. Yeah, so I'll leave you guys on that. I'm going to just I know it's scheduled for 9 o'clock, but I'm not going to wait around. I'm not going to have you guys wait around. I think that's kind of pointless. So apologies to everyone who skipped the first video and was waiting till 9 o'clock. I'll probably be almost done with the second video by then. So hope you guys just enjoyed this rather short, piece I put together. And if you guys find anything more on the dance, this medieval dance, Millennial Kingdom dance, send it my way. I would love to look at more information on it. So that's it for now. I'll start up in about 5 minutes, guys, in the next video.